Hello, I'm Edward Hunter and welcome to Istanbul Park for the 7th round of the 2024 Formula SimRacing World Championship, the Turkish Grand Prix. Here's all of the latest driver changes. Super Venturi's Jukka-Pekka Laulu has stepped down and will be replaced for the rest of the season by Britain's Tom Stevens. The vastly experienced Norwegian driver Jarl Tyen is subbing in Netrex for the absent Stavros Musadis. Pro race winner Christian Pascal fills in for Matthias Stari at Go Team. Finally, it's all change at Optimal as Sergio Fletcher and Stoyan Barbakov return to the cockpit. Jake Dennehan took his second pole position of the season and led away at the start from his race clutch teammate Owen McGorgy. Points leader Yannick Bock pulled alongside Stevens, who was the sole representative for Super Venturi after Jan Grankvist was disconnected during the formation lap. After running side by side with the Englishman for the first sector, a late braking manoeuvre into turn 7 put the Evo driver ahead into 6th place. Further back, Michi Hoyer had made another strong start to pass Isaac Gillison, but Sander Callas proved to be more resistant, repassing the rFactor into turn 8. It then got worse for Gillison as the Ferrari driver was then passed into turn 9 by Brabham's Martin Mergeli. Lap 3 and Cosmo Prosciutto attempted to go around the outside of George Zalagianis for 20th place. The Greek driver went a little too deep into the corner and found himself making contact and spinning to the back of the field. On the following lap, Dennehan relinquished the race lead to his teammate McGorgy, attempting to aid in the Englishman's title challenge. Meanwhile, Pro Points leader Fletcher went toe-to-toe with Jerne Simoncic, relieving the quadruple champion of 9th position into turn 12. On lap 6, Tyen snatched 4th away from Manuel Biancalila using the DRS, but the Norwegian almost left the door open, going slightly too deep into turn 12. Pascal was also on the move, overcoming Giordano Valeriano's VEM for 11th. On lap 10 there was further pain for Valeriano as Callas picked his moment to dispatch the Italian for 12th. Simoncic then exacted his revenge on Fletcher on lap 11 by breezing around the outside of the Spaniard with the DRS. Just behind, his Rafa teammate Hoyer snatched 13th away from Valeriano, who continued to slip down the order. Then a big moment followed for Prosciutto as the rear end of his Go Team car snapped around at turn 8, sending the American into the gravel. His teammate Pascal was faring better, battling side by side with Fletcher for 10th on lap 13, before the Optimal driver hit first for fresh tyres. Janos Braksok pit from 3rd at the end of lap 14. The top 4 all responded by pitting immediately, with only Bock staying out. Dennehan and McGorgy had swapped positions again, but the Irishman survived a near miss with Biancalila in the pits. On exit, it was clear that Braksok's Brabham had leapfrogged both race clutch cars for track position. Dennehan then came upon the long-running Philip Pushke, who held up Dennehan to assist his teammate Bock. By the time they reached the DRS zone, the Irishman made short work of the Evo and was immediately followed by McGorgy as well, as the duo set off after Braksok. Bock then opted to pit from the lead and was followed in by Simoncic, Pascal and Jordan, handing the race lead to Braksok. Bock re-emerged into 9th place, having been narrowly undercut by Tom Stevens. Kostas Van Vukas was another driver running a long first stint and used the DRS to relieve Pushke of 4th place. His teammate Tyen passed Biancalila before moving on to Pushke, slicing up the inside of the German into turn 1 to climb up to 5th. The two Netrexes swapped positions as Simoncic uses fresh tyres and DRS to make short work of Mergeli. By lap 20, Dennehan had once more moved aside to help his teammate McGorgy, but then there was disaster behind as Biancalila made contact with the rear of Van Vukas, which tore off his front wing. The Italian went straight on and made more contact than Netrex, dragging both of them into the gravel and out of the race. The following lap, McGorgy used his DRS and energy deployment to retake the lead from Braksok into turn 12. Lap 24 and Valeriano and the sole remaining VEM overcame the struggling Mergeli to run 14th. The following lap, Dennehan dived up the inside of Braksok from a long way back into turn 12 to launch himself into 2nd. But the big threat was Bock, who used the DRS to leapfrog past Stevens for 5th. On lap 26, Fletcher was being ganged up on by first Pascal and then Simoncic, who contemplated making a double move before wisely backing out. Fletcher then really began to struggle with tyre wear as Hoyer dived up the inside of him into turn 7. The Spaniard then collected a snap of oversteer as Jordan then placed his Ferrari perfectly to go all the way around the outside of the Optimal in a spectacularly brave manoeuvre. For Prosciutto, however, turn 8 would not be so kind, as the Go Team car lost control and headed straight into the barriers, signalling the end of a difficult race. Braxok and Tyen pit at the end of lap 29 to try and get another undercut on the leaders. McGorgy and Dennehan pit immediately and re-emerged split by the Brabham driver. McGorgy would once more utilise the DRS to clear the Ferrari of Isaac Gillison on lap 31, with Braxok following suit through turn 12. Dennehan then got alongside Gillison down the start-finish straight and comfortably outbraked the Ferrari into turn 1. Tyen was right behind and deployed his battery to attempt a double move, but had to lift off the throttle and went side by side with Gillison through turn 4. The smallest of contact was made, but it was enough to spin the Dutchman around and onto the grass. 2 laps later, McGorgy had caught the other Ferrari of Jordan, who attempted to leave as little room as possible for the Englishman at turn 4, but he nonetheless squeezed through. McGorgy then immediately caught a struggling Hoyer and easily flew by with a much better exit through the turn 9-10 chicane. Jordan and Braxok immediately followed using the DRS, and then it was 2 rows of 2 wide, running almost in formation as Dennehan went round the outside of Hoyer at turn 13, before then attempting to dive up the inside of Jordan through the final corner as Tyen picked off Hoyer just behind them. Dennehan had to wait until turn 4 to overcome the Ferrari, who this time left slightly more space than he did for McGorgy. Tyen decided he wasn't going to wait any longer and slotted himself around the outside of Jordan through turn 7 so that he could complete the move into the fearsome turn 8. Contact was made, but the Netrex driver muscled his way through. Simoncic was then caught for second by McGorgy and could do nothing to hold him at bay. Braxok was also quickly through before Dennehan also passed the Slovenian at turn 4 around the outside. Tyen then made a move on the inside of Simoncic right as he was sizing up a counter-attack on Dennehan. Luckily, any disaster was avoided in time. Bock then made his final pit stop at the end of lap 37 and came out behind Callas. It didn't take long for him to breeze past the Estonian and move up to 6th. Jordan had also pit, and on lap 41 he cleared Mergeli to run 12th. Tyen then tried to undercut Braxok and the race clutch cars with an early final pit stop for Hards, emerging behind Fletcher and Simoncic in 10th place. On lap 42, Dennehan was at last able to clear Braxok for second. Simoncic was at the same time lining up Fletcher for a DRS pass for 8th, feeding the Optiminal car into the path of Tyen, who made contact with Fletcher at the final corner before launching his way past on the inside down the start-finish straight. It wasn't long before Tyen was sailing past Simoncic as he continued to close upon the leaders. Braxok responded on lap 44 and found himself undercut, emerging behind the Rafa of Simoncic. McGorgy and Dennehan would make their final stops for softs on lap 46 and would emerge just in front of Braxok but behind Tyen and Bock, both of whom were going to the end. A lap later, Stevens would join the race clutch duo in pitting for soft tyres, re-emerging 11th. McGorgy wasted no time using the DRS to overcome Tyen as the Englishman now set about hunting down his championship rival. Callas was then able to slot his ground effect up the inside of Hoyer for 8th. Dennehan soon made a pass around the outside of Tyen for 3rd through turn 11. Jordan meanwhile was under attack from Callas as the Estonian went all the way around the outside of the Ferrari, despite Jordan being late on the brakes into turn 12. Stevens had caught the back of this train, but Hoyer was determined to defend as robustly as possible. The 2 locked wheels, but the Super Venturi would not be denied. Jordan was now a sitting duck as Pascal and Stevens both used DRS to pass him before fighting with each other over 8th. The Go Team driver outbraked himself into turn 12, leaving a small gap for Stevens to slot his Super Venturi around the outside into 13, moving the British driver up to 8th. Lap 52 and Fletcher found himself almost being pushed into the pit lane as he tried to pass Gillison. The Spaniard had the inside line, but the Ferrari simply died back underneath the Optiminal to retake 13th. Fletcher then used the DRS again to go around the outside, and Gillison tried to brake late on the inside but hit the back of Fletcher and lost his front wing, topping off a miserable race for the Dutchman. 4 laps to go and Braxok used the DRS to pick off Tyen and climb to 4th. On the penultimate tour, Callas tried his signature move on the outside of Simoncic, with Stevens having caught the pair of them. The Estonian and the Slovenian banged wheels, and the Rafa held the inside line at the final corner as Stevens threaded the needle and the trio ran 3 wide to start the final lap. Simoncic braked late into turn 1 to muscle his way back past Stevens, but uphill the Super Venturi driver got his revenge, once more going around the outside into turn 3 and claiming the inside for 4, completing an action-packed climb back up the pack to 6th place. Up front, McGorgy was within touching distance of Bock, but a stumble on the final lap meant he was too far back to retake the lead, meaning Bock would hold on to take his 3rd win of the season after another strategic masterclass. McGorgy and Denahan fell just short as the free-stop strategy gave them too much ground to make up. Braxock took his 3rd successive 4th place. Tyan was 5th, his best result in his first FSR start in 6 years. Stevens put on some superb moves to take his best ever finish ahead of Simoncic and Callas, whilst Pascal took his first top 10 ahead of Jordan. Hoyer was 11th, with the point scorers rounded out by Fletcher, Valeriano, Mergoli and Pushke, who took his 3rd points finish of the season. Zalagianis just missed out on points in his best race of the season so far, and Barbakov was the final finisher. Gillison, Pachito and Van Vukas all crashed out. Bianculida received a race ban for causing another incident, and Jan Grankvist didn't even get to see the start, his day cut brutally short by a disconnection. Bock has extended his lead in the Drivers' Championship to 10 points over McGorgy with 3 rounds left to run. Denahan is 31 points behind the Evo driver and 21 behind his teammate. Braxock has consolidated 4th but is in danger of dropping out of title contention. Bianculida holds on to 5th from a single point over Simoncic, whilst Grankvist, Jordan and Hoyer are all tied for 7th. Callas completes the top 10. In the team standings, Race Clutch need only a 92-point lead to seal the team's championship at the end of the next race. Currently, they're 99 points ahead of Evolution, who are now 20 points clear of Rafa. Brabham are pulled clear of Ferrari in 4th by 14 points. VEM are just a point ahead of Super Venturi in 6th. And Go Team close within 2 points of Optiminal in the battle for 8th, with Grand Effect only 4 points back. So after a blip in Imola, Bock is back to winning ways, but with McGorgy nipping at his heels, the title fight threatens to go down to the wire, as Race Clutch's 3rd double podium in a row means they can wrap up the team's title 2 rounds early. Tune in to the Belgian Grand Prix at Spa-Francorchamps on the 16th of June to find out whether they do or not, but from the Tulsa district of Istanbul, it's goodbye for now.